Hello. All right, welcome everybody. Hopefully you're feeling well. Happy Thursday. Happy to be here with you. So all week long we've been doing this little noon class, and each day we have had a little bit of something different to try. And if you end up taking this class again somewhere down the road, all of these classes repost onto the YouTube channel, so they're there for you whenever you want them. Hopefully you'll find it nice to have a couple different specialized classes out there. And so we did some hip work, we did some shoulders on Tuesday, we did some core work yesterday, and so today we're going to do heart openers. Everybody's kind of favorite, depending on how you feel. And a little bit of some back bending too. You know, the difference between the two, although it is kind of slight, it is a difference. When we're talking about heart opening, we're really more so focused on this expanding through the chest and opening up more so the front of the body. Whereas when we're back bending, although the front of the body gets some benefit, we really are focusing on using the back side of the body. And so there'll be a little bit of some back bends that kind of come along for the ride, but we'll try to keep the focus on opening all of this back up. I think all of us have probably felt at one time or another that we just get a little bit into this posture. In the winter time, it naturally happens. For those of you who are doing a lot of work at a desk, or if you just have more time probably in a seated position than you have had in a long time. It depends. You know, some of us don't always, it's not always just the sedentary part of it. It can be anything in life that pulls us out of this natural ability to want to be open. And I think this year has been a great example of, you know, shit happens, right? And I know that when I'm out in public, I probably tend to be a little bit more closed up than I normally am. So let's do some opening. If you have something nearby that's not too big of a hassle to grab, that is just even a little couch pillow, that's what I grabbed. Just something that you could maybe, a blanket rolled up would work. Something that you can put behind your back for a little bit of lift, because we are going to start and end using this as a prop. And don't get too caught up in it. If you don't have anything around, it's okay. You don't have to do this part. But we are going to begin with a little bit of something underneath our back, just to give us that first feel of having a little bit of lift through the heart center, just finding slight sensation there. And the prop underneath the spine is naturally going to give you just a gentle little back bend there. So find the spot that works for you. If you have a yoga block, you could use that as well. That's fine. It might be a little bit intense, but little dabble do, really. And then what you do with your legs is up to you. I'm going to start with my knees bent. That feels pretty good to me today, but you could certainly stretch them out or put the bottoms of your feet together. Just make sure that you turn your palms up toward the sky, and you might even think about trying to get your thumbs to touch the ground. This is just going to remind us that the preferred anatomical shape of your body is really to be open. To let the shoulders fall back and bring some space across your chest, across your heart. Good. And then anything that's touching the mat, do your best to soften. Really relax your glutes, your hips, the back of your head. We've taken the heart center, just elevated it up, made it the most prominent part of the posture, put it on display. And that's our focus for today, is working to keep this place open. Anytime we're talking about doing deep heart opening or even a little bit of back bending, it is 100% crucial that we know how to breathe, right? So let's start there. Just take a little bit of time to cultivate your favorite smooth, steady, easy breath in and out. If you want to exhale out your mouth, that's fine. You pick a breath that works for you, something that's maintainable, something that you know you can probably deepen if you need, knowing that you can come back, slow down, and find this steady breath anytime you like. It's always available to you. Start of the practice is a good time to set some intentions, or working with heart opening. It's nice to have a dedication, something that you're opening up for, right? Something that you're sending out from your heart. Or maybe there's something that you need to bring in to your practice, into your life, into your day, into your body. Kind of woke up from a really strange, bizarre dream this morning that left me feeling a little panicked and a little dreadful for some reason. And so all morning I've been making it my intention to let that feeling go. It's really not based in anything tangible, right? It's just stories that I told myself in my brain. So that's my intention today. It could be something as simple as that. It's just try to let that notion go. Make a conscious effort to do that whenever possible, especially on an exhalation. Let's stay here for 5 more. Full deep breaths. If it's feeling good, you can really start to put a little more effort into getting all of the exhalation out and really filling up, using the entire capacity of your chest, your lungs, your belly to breathe in. Squeezing out every single last drop of your exhale. Three. 2. And 1. Okay, let's start. Moving the body a little bit. On your next breath in, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Open and close the palms of your hands as you roll your wrists. And then you might just start pointing and flexing your feet. Twirling the ankles one by one. Eventually, let's bring the arms up overhead and just stretch the whole body out long. Curl up and roll over onto your left side. Pause there for a moment. And if you went to the right, that's okay. Doesn't matter really. Feel good? Come on up. We'll help ourselves up and around to find a seat. You can remove whatever you were using as a little bolster for now. Keep it nearby. We'll find it again later. And let's take it into gentle cross-legged pose. Sukhasana, easy posture. Start rolling the shoulders up, back, and down. Really exaggerate that shrugging, bringing them all the way up, pushing them all the way back, down and around, and even feel the shoulders move forward so that you articulate every point of that rotation. You think about a clock face, right? You're going to hit every hour on the clock. And then reverse it. Take it around a few times. 2. And 1. Let the shoulders relax. Reach your right fingertips out, and you can touch them down, or I like to just leave mine hovering here, and then just drop your right ear and really let the left side of the neck get long. And then you can do the same thing, stretching your left fingertips out a ways until you add a little bit more stretch. If you know you can take it and it feels okay to put a little bit of pressure right here, you bring your right hand up ever so gently. So if you know anything about chakras, your heart center chakra is not just, this anatomical part of your heart. It really has nothing to do with your heart organ. It's encompassed in there, but energetically we're talking about this whole space across the chest, all the way up through the arms, the sides of the neck a little bit. There's a lot more, your upper back. Think about the back side of things. We're not just one-dimensional here. Take it the other way. Right fingertips reach out a little bit. Left fingertips crawl out so that your hands are just stretching. Left ear is dropping toward the shoulder. If you want a little bit more, we're not pulling on the head. I'm just resting my palm to add a tiny bit of weight. 3, 2, and 1. Bring it back up through center. Good. Right arm comes across the chest. So that's why we're going to do a little bit of work for the upper back here and the shoulders as well, because they are all part of this heart center space. Coming across, just pull. Don't turn along with this one. You want to keep yourself sitting straight up. Shoulder blades are even. Roll this wrist around a little bit. Drop your right ear again if you'd like. Even more stretch up through these little scalenes of the neck. They come essentially from your traps and pecs and right up the sides of your neck, along the jaw, and connect all the way up into your base of the skull. Okay, listen close. Inhale, bring your head back up. You're going to keep your arms crossed. Just move them out here to the front. My elbows are just resting on top of each other. Watch what I'm going to do with my hands. I'm going to turn my palms down, and then I'm going to turn my palms in. And I'm going to interlace fingers with my other hand, and then slowly turn your hands in and kind of flip the pose inside out as much as you can, and probably going to get stuck right about there. If you do any kind of typing, you use a computer or you use your hands in any sort of repetitious motion, this might be slightly excruciating. You're going to feel the stretch come right along your wrist here, all the way up that little piece of muscle and tendon that is the culprit, there we go, in carpal tunnel always. But it just gets exceptionally tight for most of us. And while you're here, you can round your belly out, round your upper back, and just lean over a little bit and stretch out your upper back. Try to get in between your shoulder blades. And then release. Let it go. Shake it out. Left arm comes across. Hook it here. Pull and stretch right along the seam of the biceps and triceps. Now let's go ahead and drop the right ear. twirl this wrist around a couple times if you'd like. Good cracking there. And head comes back up. Arms are already crossed. Take them out front. Turn them in toward each other. Palms facing. Lock the hands together. Now the cross is probably more down at your wrist. That's okay. Curl them in and flip them out the front. Stay right there. Just doing everything you can to breathe into this one. Chin can drop in, hollowing out the upper back a little bit, pulling the navel in. 3, 2, and 1. Release, unwind. Let it go, shake it out, roll it out. And last but not least, right arm comes up and over your head. Let's grab with the left elbow. Take a little side body stretch. Look up and to the right and open up the shoulder a tad bit more. You can use your head to press into your arm. Create a slight bit of resistance there. And release. Switch it out. Grab the left. Look up and underneath the left arm. 2, and 1. Okay, let it go. Hands are going to come down. If you feel like you got to give everything one more little shake out, good. And just notice that we've warmed up the upper body. You probably feel some little warm tinglies there. That was the point, because that's our focus today. So we need to warm that space up. Go ahead and crawl out to hands and knees. Find yourself a little tabletop to start with, and then just begin to move through some cats and cows, sometimes called chakra vakasana. And chakra like the chakras in your body, right? We just talked about heart chakra. Anya chakra is the Sanskrit name for that one. And vakra, the second part of the word, means crooked or sort of unaligned, right? So they're asking you to move that energetic line of your body kind of in and out of alignment here. Rounding through a nice deep cat stretch. As the belly drops, the tail tilts, the gaze comes up. We start to feel maybe your first little inkling of a back bend heart stretch there. One more time. Good. And then we'll curl the toes under, get back into our first downward facing dog. Work out this down dog a tad. Softening the knees, swiveling the heels. The good news is there's not going to be a ton of lower body stuff today. If you needed a break in your legs, great. We'll save that for tomorrow. And slowly bring it forward. Softly taking a little walk up to the top of your mat, and then just pick your favorite forward fold variation. Ragdoll always feels good. Hands behind the back, chest expansion usually feels nice. That's a good warm up for a heart openers class. Little twisting or just swinging the hands around and swaying. These are all good options. I'm going to let you sort it out for another 5 exhales or so here. Make sure that you're still not trying to hold any tension in your jaw. Soften up, unclench your teeth, relax. Corners of the eyes and the mouth, the cheekbones. And then slowly roll and stack. Take your time. Really think about resetting your spine as you come up all the way to stand. Shoulders can roll back and down a few times here. Find that anatomical position that we were we were doing earlier, right, where the palms turn out. So you think back to anatomy class, think about that skeleton that they always wheeled out there, right? He doesn't hang like this. He hangs like this, right? Even his feet are kind of opened up. So this is the position that the body wants to be in, is this sort of open through the hip, open through the shoulders. And it feels good to do it, but for most of us, it's probably going to take some effort. It's not our natural shape. So just take a second to notice how that feels. Slow your breathing down, and then when you're ready, we'll take the hands to the heart. So when I think about heart openers, I always think about moon salutations because they are such a good representation of this opening through the chest. And so that's pretty much what's going to comprise the practice today. We're going to move through 3 rounds of moon salute, nice and slow one time. Second time we'll take it with the breath. Third time we'll throw some, bonus postures and bells and whistles in there for you if you'd like. So come on with me when you're ready. Here we are with the hands at the heart, and then we'll circle all the way up and overhead. You can just take a full body stretch, or if you want to do any side stretches, maybe a little supported back bend here. I'm leaving a lot of this up to you today. Just pick what feels good. Get yourself loosened up, and then come on with me when you're ready. We'll fold all the way down to the ground and exhale completely. If you've never done a moon salute before, have no fear. We're going to go slow. There's a lot more to a moon salutation than there is to a sun salutation, I'll tell you that. Half lift and lengthen, inhale. Good. Here's where things change. On the exhale, we don't step, hop, or jump. We crouch and curl down nice and low. Bring your body into a small little ball. Pull your forehead toward your knees, opening up that back line of the neck. Fingertips or flat palms on the ground if you can. And every posture gets about 5 breaths this first time. So here we are. We're about 3. If you feel really comfortable and steady here and you want to try to grab for opposite elbows or forearms, you can do that, adding a little bit of balance work. Make sure you engage your bandhas. Use your core. 2 and 1. Set your fingertips back down and inhale, lift your gaze. Left foot is always going to move us in a moon salutation. Some of you probably know the moon side of your body is the left side of your body. So take a big step back with that left foot. Come all the way down into a nice deep lunge. First 5 breaths, we're going to keep the hands on the ground and just do a little bit of hip stretching here. No tension in the neck, the shoulders. We're just working to keep all of that relaxed. Sometimes it helps to just roll the neck around a little bit. There you go. 3, 2. Now on 1. Firm up the legs, firm up the core, and bring your hands off the mat. Circle them around, up and overhead. Find a good stance. Use your low belly muscles, and then take a look up and add a little bit more of a heart opener here by letting your arms perhaps drop open or even pulling your elbows down towards your ribs, cactus arms style. Oftentimes that's the description you hear in this pose. If you'd rather take your hands behind your back and lock your fingers together, open your chest like that, might be a good alternative. 2 and 1. And then we release. Hands come down to frame the front foot. We'll tuck the back toes and move to downward facing dog. Please try not to drag your foot. Use your core to pick it up. Take it back and exhale completely. Hold this down dog for 5. 4. Give your chest a good push back towards your thighs. Think about down dog as a heart opener today. Open the chest. There it is. 3, 2, and 1. Drop to your knees and exhale, sit back on your heels. 2 versions of camel. Now, this might be different than the moon salutation that you know because there's hundreds of different versions of a moon salute. And today we're going to do this one that has 2 versions. You stay where you're at. The first version, I'm just turning to the side so you can see the pose. Slide your hands along the mat until they end up behind you. Lean back, flat palms, please. If you can get your hands flat, it makes a world of difference. And then you just lift your hips a little bit. Drop your head back. Open up across your chest. This one you're going to feel much more literally across your heart center, right across your chest, stretching underneath the collarbones, and then down through your quads and hip flexors. Good. 2 and 1. Lower the hips back down. Inhale as you come up slowly. Hands on the hips, and then press up and find your way all the way to the knees. And then we do the second version. Ustrasana. This is the full version of camel. Keep it supported on this first round. Just resist the urge. Even if you're a natural back bendy person, don't go all the way back for your heels just yet. Hands on the hips, or fingers can turn down and support the whole of your low back and the top of your glutes. Now, before we can do any back bending, we have to do heart opening, right? So lift the heart center up, the chest up, push the hips forward, and then if you're gonna drop back, do it from there. I always say, just imagine a great big wagon wheel just rolled up against your back, and now you gotta get up and over that before you can go further back. Good. 3, 2, feel the openness all the way through the chest and the throat. And 1, eyes open wide. Slowly sit yourself back down into hero. Make sure you feel okay. A little dizziness might pass you by. And then drop it all the way down into child's pose. Stretch the hands forward, the hips back. Lengthen through the spine. Relax the forehead. Breathe. 5 full cycles of breath. Three, 2, and 1. Take a look forward on your breath in. Slide and slither out like a little snake onto your belly. And let the legs unfurl behind you. And then we're going to go 3 belly back bends. And this is kind of Goldilocks style, right? So little baby one first. Something that feels pretty good, maybe just slightly underwhelming to you, and that's okay. Pull your shoulder blades back and together and think more about opening across your chest. Right? And then exhale, release. And perhaps you slide your hands back a little bit. The second one, you might start with your elbows popping up like little grasshopper arms and go for something that's kind of in between. Yeah, medium-sized cobra. This one probably feels just right, like it's a little bit of a back bend, especially in the low back. You still got a chest expansion going. Lift your heart. And release. And as we go through our moon salutes, you can make these bigger as we go along. We'll get into some bows and other things, but this first time, let's keep it with relatively within the realm of these cobra stretches. Last one, maybe you want to come up into what's oftentimes called lazy up dog or king cobra. So my knees and quads are still on the ground, but my belly's just kind of hovering, arms are pressing to straight. It's a much bigger back bend feel. If you like up dog, come off the legs completely. And then set the knees back down, and now we just go in reverse, back to child's pose. Hips to the heels, we'll breathe for 5. 4, it is important to always go slow in the beginning, especially when you're dealing with back bends and heart openers. So really let the body have the time it needs to open up and feel these postures out. And when you know what you're looking for, it's easier to find it when you start moving one breath, one movement. 2, and 1. Inhale, slowly Rise all the way up to your knees. Remember, we're going in reverse, so we're back up to that full camel first now. Hands around behind, holding the hips or supporting the low back and the glutes. Take it up, push the hips forward, and drop the head back. Same thing here. Eventually you'll be able to go back and grab your heels and do all that fancy stuff on this second and third rounds, but let's stay supported in this first one. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, bring it up. Sit down. Hips to heels, hands behind you, and then lift again. Inhale, pull the heart center up, and then drop the head back. Not as much action in the low back here. As a matter of fact, you really shouldn't feel like there's much going on there. Instead, you're going to feel it in the front. Quads are engaged. Try to keep the glutes relaxed. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Inhale, rock forward, land on your hands and knees, tuck your toes, and lift your hips back to downward facing dog. A little 5 breath pause here. Still moving your heart a little closer to your thighs. 2, and 1. Take a look forward. Remember we said left foot is the mover, so now the left foot steps through. We drop all the way down. Good. Circling the arms up and around for a breath. Adding a little bit bigger expression for the shoulders, the heart center, the sides of the body. This part is all up to you. Do what you do. Don't do what you don't do. 3, take good care of your body. Make sure that you're engaged in the lower body here so that we're not going too deep into the hip flexors. You want a little bit of squeeze happening behind and below the belly button. Ula Bandha. Uddiyana Bandha. And 1. Hands come down. Lean into the stretch. Drop your head. 3, 2, and 1. Now look forward on your inhale. And tuck your back toes and prepare to step to the top of the mat and crouch and curl. Drop it low. Squeeze it all in tight. Fingertips or palms can stay on the ground, or you can try to find opposite elbows. Notice your ankles wiggling around a little bit there. That's going to help you build up strong feet and ankles. Never a bad thing for Minnesotans. 2. Although we've been pretty lucky so far this year. And 1. Hands down, hips up, fold. There it is. Full exhale. That's the full salute. So let's do it 2 times now. We're going to speed it up and move with the breath. You can always go slower if you need to. Take it up to the top. Roll it, reverse it, or rise all the way up. A little bit of side stretching or back bending if you want. I'll let you take a moment to do that here. And then away we go. Big breath in, exhale, fold down. Good. Half lift. This is really just to bring your heels off the ground. On the exhalation, squeeze all the breath out. Lift your gaze on the inhale. Left foot goes back on the exhale. Drop the back knee. Big breath in. Arms come up right away. Exhale, hands back down. Tuck the toes. Inhale back to down dog. And stay for the exhale. The bottom of the breath out. Drop to your knees. Inhale up and grab. Oh, pardon me. Inhale back. Pardon me. Sit on the heels. I forgot. This one comes first on the front side. Little half camel. Ardha Ustrasana. Exhale, release. Now inhale up to the knees. Press the hips forward. Exhale back again as you drop the head. Heart lifts, hips press forward. Good. Deep inhale as you rise back up. Land on the hands and knees and exhale, tuck the toes. Take it back to your down dog for a moment. Ah, that's my bad. Drop to your knees. Press back to child's pose. I've taught this too many times lately. Kind of forgetting which version I was doing. Sorry about that. We'll sneak back into that child's pose and then we'll get back on track. Now inhale, slither, out like a snake. 3 times, here we go. Little back bend. Maybe you want to lift your feet a little bit. Lift your hands a little bit. You know, you can keep making these bigger as we go along. Good, medium size. The one in the middle that feels just about perfect. And then the challenging back bend, the one that's kind of the biggest one for you. Maybe it's that lazy up dog, king cobra. If you're feeling like you're already warmed up enough to reach back and see if there's some feet to find and do a little bit of work through bow, that's a huge representation of something that is both a heart opener and a back bend, right? Dhanurasana. You'll get another chance, so don't feel rushed. Take it up, take it back to child's pose. Exhale completely. Here we go, back on track, up to the knees, standing in that full kneeling Ustrasana position. If you're feeling good, maybe you start walking your hands down your thighs or reaching back to find your heels. That is not mandatory, it's just an option. Exhale, release, take a seat. Put your hands behind you. Second set, Ardha Ustrasana, lift again. Really push your heart center up. Feel how much your body's starting to open up now that the quads are lengthening out a little bit. Good. Exhale, release. Rock it forward. Hands and knees, tuck the toes. Exhale, push those hips up high. Downward facing dog. Next breath in, look forward. Take that step through and exhale, lower to your right knee. Arms sweep up into some nice big expression here. Yeah, make it pretty, make it flowy, make it creative. That's what moon salutations are all about. Hands come down. Gaze forward. Prepare to step off that back knee and drop it down, crouch and curl. Lift the gaze. Lift the hips. Push into the hands and feet here again if you can. Really round out the upper back. Let's do it one more time. And I'm just going to give you a couple more options now. We're rolling all the way up to the top. Little freestyling here on your own. It's your body. Do what you need to do. Maybe it just feels good to shake everything out a little bit. I'll be waiting for you right down here when you're ready in the forward fold, and we'll go one last time. Inhale, lengthen. Crouch and curl, exhale, squeeze down low. Now, if you want, we'll sneak a bonus breath and you can try this opposite elbows thing again, or maybe a little toe stand work. Hands at your heart, squeeze your inner ankle bones, thighs, and knees together. You people who love a good crow pose can put your armpits around your kneecaps, your elbows on your shins, and lift your feet up for a few breaths if you'd like. Options, not requirements, right? You do you. For 2 and 1. Make a landing back on the mat if you lift it up. Left foot goes back. You want a high lunge this time? Sure, no problem. Do what works for you. I'm going to keep mine low today. Feels better. And exhale, hands down. Take it back to down dog. Big breath in. As I exhale, I'll drop to the knees. Sit back on your heels. Good. Hands behind you. Lift your heart center. Lift your hips. Drop the head back. Ardha Ustrasana. Lower down. Inhale. Hands find the hips. Go for it on this final round. This is your second to last shot at this pose. I'm just turning to the side again to remind you that if you're going to reach for something like your thighs or your heels, don't go backward with the pose, because you're going to lose all the chest stretch. Make sure you can do it. Even if you have to come back to find it, then push forward again so that you really open up. An exhale out your mouth sometimes feels fantastic right there. And then back up and sit down. Good. Drop the belly to the thighs. Take it all the way into child's pose. Pause for a cycle of breath in. Deep sighing exhale out. Here we go. To the belly, sliding forward. Let the legs unfurl behind you, or maybe you want to keep the knees bent and go for all 3 rounds of bow. I'm going to leave this last round up to you. It's 3 back bends. Maybe progressively deeper with each one. There's 2. Last time. And 3. Good. Reverse order. Here we go. Back to child's balasana. Hips to the heels. Exhale completely. Inhale. Purna Ustrasana. That's full camel. So this is your last shot at it. Go back as far as you'd like. Breathe as deep as you'd like. If I have any great big humongous backbenders out there and you know how to drop this pose all the way down and work on Kapotasana, which is the backbend version of pigeon, or Laghuvadrasana, lightning bolt, those are available as well. I don't have time to break them down for you today, but take them if you want, and then release. And one last time, hands back, heart up, Ardha Ustrasana, half camel version. Don't mind me moving around, just giving you some different angles of the pose. And exhale, drop the hips, rock forward. On the breath in, you land in tabletop. On the breath out, you find yourself in downward facing dog. Next inhale brings your gaze forward. High lunge or low lunge, up to you. Do something creative, soft, beautiful, and open with your arms. And exhale, take your hands back down. Good. Inhale as you prepare to step forward. Exhale, feet come together, knees squeeze, drop it low. Extra breath or 2 if you want to do anything kind of fancy here. I like this twisting version. And we'll release, lifting the hips up and folding out. Right, reverse, rise, take it all the way up to stand. Shoulders back and down, good. Okay, we're back to the top. Before we come down and close up shop on this heart opening practice, I always feel like you can't do a real true heart opener class unless you work on dancer at least once, right? Because Natarajasana, that's how you say that pose, by the way. Na, ta, ra, ja. Easy. It's all the same syllable. Na, ta, ra, ja. Natarajasana. The dancer is such a nice expression of both elements, of the heart opening, the front body stretch, and then you've got the back bend going on as well. So let's do 1 round of dancer, and then we'll come down and essentially get ourselves back into that same position we started in. We're going to take the weight into the right foot first. That means bring your arms up overhead like you're doing a full body stretch, and then just kick your left foot back and stay right there for a moment. Don't rush this. We really want to make sure we have our balance first. Set a nice drishti point, eyes resting on a single point of focus out there in front of you somewhere. Good. And then we're going to slowly drop the left arm, but maintain all the length on the right side. It should still feel like you're trying to touch the ceiling with your right fingertips. Left arm, palm open to the sky. Right here, I'm not going to twist my shoulder, my wrist, anything. I'm not going to do anything to this arm. I'm just going to leave it open. And I'm going to bring my left foot out a little bit so that it's easier for me to find the inner arch or the inner ankle bone of that foot and hold on. Once I've got a good grip, then zip everything back up. Kneecaps are side by side, shoulders are square, Hips are square. Start from there. Inhale, lift your chest a little bit. Exhale, kick back a little bit. Inhale, lift a little bit. Exhale, kick a little bit. Just like that. For every lift of the heart, there's an equal and opposite kicking back. Keep going until you find that spot where you're pretty much balanced between a back bend and a heart opener. And breathe. 5, 4. Sometimes easier said than done. If you fall out, don't worry. It just means that you challenged yourself to kind of get to your edge, right? 3, 2, maybe those toes come popping out over the top of your head, and 1. I always like to fall out on the last breath, right? And then you know you got there. Shake it out. Let it go. Working balance poses means working balance, right? And we all know that, balance is most of the time out of whack. It's not like everything is perfectly balanced all the time. So don't be afraid if you fall out of a balance pose. It's okay. It's like, doesn't mean you didn't do it. Doesn't mean you didn't get some satisfaction out of it. It means you probably worked yourself a little harder than you thought you could. So here we go. Arms are going to come up, and we're going to kick that right foot back and just stand for a second. Let me get in front of or actually behind my chandelier here. There we go. All right, I've got my gaze point set. I've got the navel pulled in tight. I'm reaching for the ceiling with my left fingertips, and I'm going to let my right hand just fall. Open, no turning the shoulder, no turning the wrist. I'm going to find the inner arch or the inner ankle handle of the right side, and then pull back and zip up. Shoulders even, hips are even, kneecaps side by side. Start from there. Little lift, little kick. Little lift, little kick. Little lift, little kick. Good. Nataraja. Breathe. Nataraja is the sage who really, honestly, start again if you fall out, no big deal, right? We covered that. Breathe. 4. Who dances in the face of fear. So be brave. Take yourself to the edge with this one. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let it go. Shake it out. Now in the future, if you're doing this practice and you want to give that another whirl or two, pause and try another round or two on each side. It gets more powerful the more repetitions you make of a dancer, I promise. Exhale, come on with me, forward fold. We're going to take it all the way down to the ground. Half lift here. Drop it into your crouch and curl one more time, but this time, instead of keeping your knees together, shoot them out wide. Let your chest come down here on the inside. Drop your forearms as close to the ground as you can. After dancer pose, sometimes there's a little bit of residual action in your low back, right? It can be a little bit tense because we're really asking quite a bit of strength from the low back in that pose and flexibility. So this is a nice little counter stretch. Good. Pop it on down to a seat. If you feel like you want to do one more little fold here in Baddha Konasana, or maybe you want to stretch your legs out. We didn't really get much hamstrings in. Tomorrow is all about hamstrings and twists, so you will get plenty tomorrow, I promise you. You know ahead of time what we're going to do. But it's always important to do just a little bit of forward folding at the end of any back bending or heart opening class. It's just, good common sense to make sure you get a counter posture or two. And again, if you wanted to stay here a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to do so. So notice that we didn't do bridge and we didn't do dhanura. We didn't do urdhva dhanura, upward bow, because they're really back bends, right? They're really more so back bends. And so we'll do a separate class for back bends someday, but today I wanted you to notice the difference of what was truly involved in opening your heart. And I hope that you can feel that a little bit, and maybe you just already can tell that you're a little more open there. Get what you need to be comfortable and cozy for Shavasana, and then we're just going to come right on down and finish up again in that supported fish pose, Matsyasana. I'm turning this way. You are welcome to just lie back. Get a little something going again behind you. If you had 2 pillows or even 3, you could really get kind of a nice pile to lie back over the top of. Ribs, heart center up high. Ideally, your head would be lower than your heart here. If you can make that happen, great. And then long legs, feet together, knees bent. I'll let you decide. And just notice how different this feels now than it did in the beginning. Almost as if your body can just kind of naturally fall into this shape, whereas perhaps at the start it took a little doing to get comfortable here. When you are comfortable, close your eyes. Let your breath come back to its own nice, natural, easy rhythm. Let's slow the breathing all the way down. Let that be a signal to the rest of the body that it's okay. Find some stillness, let your guard down. It's okay to be in this open-hearted, vulnerable position because you're safe and sound. It's really these moments, and just stay where you're at. It's these moments at the end of our practice where we rest in Shavasana and we take some time to honor the stillness of our bodies that set it aside from other types of exercise, from just stretching or moving. Yoga makes sure that you leave a little time for your body to really absorb. Not just the physical benefits. That's, of course, a fantastic byproduct of having yoga practice, but you get a little time to absorb everything that's happened on an energetic level, on a cellular level in your body. Things have changed. And we take a little time to honor that. We take a little time to feel this moment of transformation, bliss, relaxation, surrender, and most of all, having this resting time at the end of your practice is about compassion. It's about taking good care of yourself. And it allows us to soak up that compassion, to let it become part of us, part of who we are, part of how we act, part of how we operate, part of how we treat the world around us, how we treat others, right? So it's important to leave a little time for it here at the end. Speaking of time, I don't want to run out of time to say goodbye to you, but I would like you to stay right where you're at and rest for as long as you can, for as long as you would like. Make sure that you soak up a little bit of that joyfulness, peacefulness, and like we said, be compassionate to yourself and to others. And on that note, I will finish by taking a bow to you, the place in one another that is always full of joy and compassion. Have a wonderful Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Namaste. Aww. Bye, everybody.